That playoff run 2018, the Saints avoided being upset at home by the Philadelphia Eagles, only the next week to have one of the worst calls of all time go against them and lose to the Rams. Drew Brees has been chipping away, trying to get back to a Super Bowl. He's now reportedly going to get a second opinion to determine whether he should go on injured reserve. This comes down to how much time is he going to miss? Because if they put him on injured reserve, he misses a minimum of 3 weeks. That's the 2020 COVID glitch in the IR rules that allows anyone for any reason to be put on injured reserve for 3 weeks. So either hold him on the roster or you put him on IR. And anytime, Charean, an NFL player gets a second opinion, that means they didn't like the first opinion that they got. And it tells me that the first opinion coming from the team doctor is you're out for at least 3 weeks. We're putting you on injured reserve. And Drew Brees seems to be sufficiently stubborn, as I would be, to say, screw that, I'm coming back within 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think, what's been said within the organization is the best case scenario has him out 2 to 3 weeks. That's best case. But, Mike, this is a serious injury. And when you have a collapsed lung, you have to be careful about that. You don't want to go out there and risk your long-term health for football. And frankly, they need him for the postseason, and they need him to be healthy for the postseason. So they need to get this thing healed up before he gets back out there. And that's going to be 3 weeks or longer. Let's face it. So I'm going to be really surprised if he comes back before 3 weeks. If they let him come back before 3 weeks, he will push it, I know, to come back. But, the Saints always have a plan. Trust in Sean Payton. They were 5-0 without Drew Brees last year. They'll be fine without him this year. I don't know if they'll go 5-0 or however long that Drew Brees is out, but I think they'll be okay.
Drew Brees is an ultra-competitive individual, as most great quarterbacks are. It's part of your makeup, or you won't become a great quarterback. You're competitive about everything. You don't want to not play, especially when you're in this back and forth with Tom Brady for the all-time passing touchdown record, and you want to be on the field. You want to be in that fight. You want to be leading your team. You think you're the best option. And I think back to last year when he had the thumb injury, every time they cut to him on the sideline of the game, he's doing the rehab thumb, get back sooner. Now, there's not much he can do to get back sooner when he's got a rib injury and a collapsed lung, but he wants to get back on the field, and I don't fault him for it, but I think this is part of the push and pull. It's part of the 5 stages of grief, and you're trying to get him to the point of acceptance, and we've seen a little bit of that in the news over the past couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a while to get out of the anger phase. I don't know which phase Drew Brees is currently in, but hopefully he'll get to acceptance. And, Charean, here's my prediction. At some point tomorrow, maybe by the time we're on the air, there will be a report as to who got the bulk of the first-team quarterback reps for the Saints on Wednesday, the major practice installation day, when even though Sean Payton surely will say to everyone in the building, keep your damn mouths shut, somebody will say something to someone who'll say something to someone who will eventually say something to someone who covers the game for a living, and we'll know whether it's Jameis Winston, whether it's Taysom Hill, or whether it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I'm going to be surprised, Mike, if it's not Jameis Winston, simply because he's the guy who came in when Drew Brees got hurt on Sunday. And secondly, Teddy Bridgewater played last year over Taysom Hill. And third, they really have to change up their offense so much with Taysom Hill at quarterback. And maybe that's something they do a couple games down the road. I don't know, depending on how Jameis Winston plays. I do know that Taysom Hill is going to be a big part of their offense. No matter if he starts or doesn't start, I expect him to be out of the bubble wrap and a huge part of this offense moving forward. But I'm not sure he's going to be the starting quarterback, and that's completely and totally just a guess. But I expect Jameis Winston to take the first snap.
My only hesitation continues to come from the officially unofficial depth chart that every team has on its website. They say it doesn't mean anything, but last year it was Brees, Bridgewater, Hill in that order. Bridgewater was the next man up. This year it's Brees, Hill, Winston in that order. And I can understand why Winston would have come in during the game because he's the backup quarterback for the game. Hill is the jack of all trades who's been doing different things at practice, not practicing to be the backup to Drew Brees, and there's your depth chart. Unofficially official, Taysom Hill is number 2 behind Drew Brees. But the question becomes, do you entrust the full offense to Taysom Hill? And I'm just fascinated by this from a Palace intrigue standpoint because they gave Taysom Hill the contract that has $16 million guaranteed. You're really not using him to that extent. You're not getting your money's worth dollar for dollar. And if he's ever going to be the quarterback of this team, Charean, why not see what he can do now? And if you're not ready to let him see what he can do now and let you find out what he can do now over the guy who threw 30 interceptions last year, maybe there's a problem we don't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. They paid him the money for a reason, Mike. They have said consistently, Sean Payton has said consistently, he is our quarterback of the future. We believe in him. We think he's a quarterback. So if you do, you let him play, you change your offense, you do what you have to do to let him play. And maybe it's a thing where they play both quarterbacks. Maybe Jameis Winston gets some snaps too, and Taysom Hill has a package for him. But whatever they do, I do think Taysom Hill needs to take a lot of snaps at quarterback. I think they need to find out about him. Drew Brees is not going to play very much longer, and I think all the signs are there. We saw it last year with the 5 games he missed. He's going to miss time this year. He is on his last legs. We all know that. He's played much better than I expected him to play this season. I'll say it. But he is on his last legs. He is nearing the end. You have to know if Taysom Hill is your future, Jameis Winston's your future, or if you need to go to find a quarterback after this season.
By the way, Broncos quarterback Drew Lock, according to NFL media, has bad muscle strains and bruising and is considered week to week. And I'm a Drew Lock fan. I thought he would become that quarterback that makes people finally say, hey, John Elway can draft and develop someone to play the position that he excelled at. But if you can't be available to your team on a regular basis, you can't be a franchise quarterback. And Charean, I get asked all the time now, what about Vic Fangio? What about Drew Lock? Are they in danger? At some point, that spotlight needs to go one level higher to the person who's making these decisions on coaches and quarterbacks. And John Elway has one of the greatest gigs in football right now because he has no owner who can fire him. And it won't be even relevant until the trustees who continue to operate the team wait until they appoint one of the Pat Bowlen children to take over. But at some point, you've got to have real scrutiny and accountability if you're John Elway. And I think any other owner, any other team, any other circumstance, by now, I think John Elway would have been in serious trouble, if not at a minimum, on the hot seat.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.